I'm doing it. I'm joining BookTube. Hi guys, it's Sophie and I'm doing a little bit of a different video than I normally do. I'm doing a sit down video and I'm gonna be talking about books. I've been seeing a lot of these videos recently with people just recommending books and I love watching them. And over the past several months, I've definitely gotten back into a reading kick and I've read a bunch of really good books that I thought I would recommend to you guys for the new year. If you want to get into reading, I would highly suggest any of these books. I also want to say back in July, I think, I started Book of the Month. This is not sponsored, but I started that just to kind of get myself motivated to read books, and they have a really good selection of books. So some of these books are pretty new and some are a couple of years old. I have some of the physical books here with me, but some of them I have given away or sold, so I don't have them with me because I'm not really that kind of person that will read a book again after reading them unless it's really good and maybe a couple of years later. And so I kind of categorize these books into three categories. In general, I'm definitely more of a thriller mystery genre book reader. Those ones just really hook me and I read them really quickly. But I have read some romance, contemporary, and historical fictions that I've thrown in here because I want to provide an assortment of books. The categories we have are thriller and mystery, romance, and everything else, but mostly it's contemporary and historical fictions. And so I'm going to go through each book and give a quick little synopsis, but if any of my descriptions pique your interest, I would highly suggest looking up the actual description to get a little bit more probably thorough and better explained description. I'm going to do my best. So I'm going to start with the thriller mystery category. The first one is The Guest List, which is by Lucy Foley. And this was actually the first book I read with Book of the Month. It was very good. The premise basically is that there's been a murder and you don't know who it is, who did it, and it all takes place on a secluded island. So I love these kind of books where it's kind of like it's someone in the main characters. It's not like someone can't come and someone can't really go. And so they're all on this island for a wedding and you get to hear from multiple viewpoints. And so yeah, the book is basically leading up to the murder and who did it and who the murdered person is. And the twist at the end really got me. It's really good. And with this author, I also read one of her books, The Hunting Party, which I have here with me. And this isn't part of the 10, but I just wanted to include this because this is also a very good book. It's very similar kind of in the way that all the characters are like stuck in a place and one of them turns up dead at the end. You don't know who it is and you don't know who did it. It's someone in the main group. And this one, they're all on a vacation in the woods in like cabins in the middle of nowhere. So this is also a really good book. The next one is The Woman in Cabin 10. I feel like before I read this book, I had heard about this title before. I didn't really know what it was about. But okay, so this book is basically about a woman who's a journalist and she gets a job to write about this luxury cruise. And so they're all on this cruise line. It's a really small cruise line. There's about like 10 people and then she witnesses a woman getting thrown overboard from the cabin next to her. And when she goes to tell people about this, everyone who is on like the roster is accounted for. Everyone is still there. And so it's kind of her figuring out if she imagined it, what actually happened, who it was. And yeah, this one is really good. I read this one in one night. I started it at about like 2 p.m. in the afternoon and finished it at 11 p.m. that same night. It's just the mystery really hooked me and I had to figure out what happened. The next one with a very kind of similar title is The Woman in the Window. I just finished this book. This one is also a film that's coming out, I believe, later this year. So if you want to watch that film and want to read the book before. So this book is about a woman who is pretty much stuck in her home because she has agoraphobia, I believe it's called. She basically just gets a lot of anxiety from leaving her home, and so one of the things she enjoys doing is spying on her neighbors through the windows. And then basically one night she sees something that she probably shouldn't have seen through the windows, and it kind of causes her into a downward spiral of just doubt, I guess. And so the whole thing is her trying to figure out what happened, and yeah, that's all I can kind of really say about that one. I don't really want to give too much away, but there is the film trailer you can watch and obviously the book synopsis. So the last book in this category is Gone Girl. I included. This one is also a film that's already come out. I watched that. So this book is about a couple who pretty much seemingly have a perfect relationship, and on their 5th anniversary the wife goes missing and the husband is looked at as the prime suspect. And pretty much early on you do not know if Nick is guilty or not. He puts up this front, and yeah, I can't really say too much to not give it away, but I will say pretty early on in the book, probably around the halfway mark, there is a major twist. So it definitely keeps you invested and interested throughout the whole book. And what I really liked about this book is that it pretty much jumps in right from the beginning. It doesn't really have a slow beginning. Okay, the next two books I have are in the romance category. I definitely don't read a lot of romance books, but I do sometimes just to kind of get a break from murder and mystery and things like that. The first one is This Time Next Year. What I will say though about both of these books is that they're not really sappy, which I liked. I obviously wouldn't have known that before going into them, but I was very happy afterwards just because usually that's not really the storyline I like to read about. But both of these books, I'll just tell you, the other one is The Best of Me by Nicholas Sparks. Definitely there is a romance kind of at the center of everything, but a lot of it is about just kind of each of the individual characters and their storylines and lives separately, which I like. So the first one, This Time Next Year, is about two people meet at a New Year's Eve party and they figure out that they had the same birthday and they were actually born at the same hospital pretty much at the exact same time. And so throughout the book they kind of just keep bumping into each other, but like I was saying, a lot of the book is about kind of their separate lives as well and how their individual stories kind of keep ending up together. The next one is The Best of Me by Nicholas Sparks, and this one is again kind of similar. The guy and the girl knew each other in high school and they were in a relationship, but they ended up splitting up when she went to college, and then there's an event that ends up bringing them back to their hometown and they end up meeting there, and it's like 20 years later, so obviously by then they've both kind of established their own lives, and so when they kind of meet up again they have to sort of question their relationship and what happened in the past. Yeah, basically after seeing each other again they kind of have to come to terms with their current lives and kind of the past and what they want moving forward. So the last category is kind of just like everything else. So the first one is Anxious People, which I loved this book. I suggested it to my roommate Anna and she also really liked it. I was also very surprised I liked this book because the description of it was very confusing and I wasn't really even sure what the book was about. Okay, I'm just gonna read the description that Goodreads gives. I'm gonna quickly read it and then kind of go off of it real quick. So the short little blurb about it is: a poignant, charming novel about a crime that never took place, a would-be bank robber who disappears into thin air, and 8 extremely anxious strangers who find they have more in common than they have ever imagined. So that's basically what the book is about, but you hear from a bunch of different points of views, and I just loved the way this book was written and revealed and kind of the pace of it, and I was really happy with the way the book ended. The next one is The Great Alone, which is a bit of a longer book, but I feel like I went through all the different emotions reading this book. Basically, it's about a family who relocates to Alaska, the middle of nowhere Alaska, where they kind of have to adapt to living there from living in kind of typical suburban life. And there's definitely a lot of family issues. The father was in the Vietnam War and he's definitely experiencing some PTSD. And so now they're in a completely new place where they're trying to restart, and moving to Alaska definitely proves a lot more challenges than they were expecting. So yeah, a lot happens in this book. So if you're looking for just a really good read, beautiful story, then I highly suggest The Great Alone. Okay, I have two more. The next one is Happy and You Know It, and this one is definitely a more just fun read, honestly. It's pretty much about a struggling musician who takes a job for wealthy Upper East Side families and their children, and she comes in to their play groups and plays music for the kids, and she gets welcomed into their group and kind of gets tangled in all of their drama. This one is also told from different characters' viewpoints, and yeah, this one's just fun. So the last one is The Vanishing Half, which is a really, really good book. And so this book is about two twins who grew up in a small southern Black community, and once they get older they decide to part ways and build very different lives for themselves. And then much later on their own daughters end up intersecting paths, and it kind of brings them back together and back to their community. And I just looked up a description and I'm just gonna read this last little blurb, kind of sort of the meaning impact of the book. The Vanishing Half considers the lasting influence of the past as it shapes a person's decisions, desires, and expectations, and explores some of the multiple reasons and realms in which people sometimes feel pulled to live as something other than their origins. That's pretty much what the book is kind of in large about. And yeah, that was the 10, kind of 11 books that I am suggesting to you guys and recommending. I love that I've kind of gotten back into reading over these past several months. It's such a great break from computers and screens. So far, all of the stories I've read have been very good. And if you guys end up reading any of these books, I'd love for you to let me know and tell me what you thought about them. I hope I provided a good little variety of genres. That's everything I have to say about the books. Happy reading, and I will see you guys in my next video.